America. So, um, of course, I like to start with us just kind of doing a check-in and seeing how everyone is feeling. If you will, take a moment, put in your, emotions, just say in the chat, here's how I'm feeling. I would love that. And then we'll get our day started. But want to always check in, and I want to model that with what I would like for you to do when you work as a practitioner, as well as when you're working as a coach. Because what we don't want to do is assume that everyone is happy like we are, and that's okay. So wherever we end up on the spectrum is exactly where we're supposed to be. Where we were last week was where we needed to be, and where we are this week is where we need to be. And as I'm looking at, the adjectives that are here, we have a lot of different, feelings and energy, to today. And if you're down and out, if that's good, it's okay. So and is there anything that anyone wants to say, anything that needs to be said, before we kind of talk about the agenda for today? Anything been on your heart? All right, wonderful. All right. So we do have a few people who can't come today, and that's just fine because it'll be taped for them for sure. Um, so no thoughts. Everybody's good though. Okay, wonderful. So I would like us to go ahead and start, because I remember last week I got so excited in what I was teaching that I did not let the groups go with their charades. So if you do have words, if you will let me know in the chat, you can send a private chat and say, I'm here, I got my word, I'm ready to go. Um, Let me know. Because I know a few people didn't get to go. All right. We got Amanda's ready. All right.
I don't know about ready, but I have my word. I mean, I have it.
Okay.
I drew a picture.
Okay.
That was the only thing that I could think of.
Right.
And I will say it was very uncomfortable.
Yes, yes, yes. That is the whole idea.
Yeah.
The entire idea of what we're doing is moving beyond our comfort zone. So yeah. I love that. And I love that you said that. So thank you. I do have a new article that that is out that's called Leadership Fragility, which is a word that I made up because white fragility is a word that's out there. But what I was really looking at is leaders being willing to be vulnerable. And so as a leader, we have a lot of fear. Am I going to do it wrong? Am I going to say the wrong thing? And that, we have this fragile feeling. And so I'm trying to take two terms. One, leadership is power, fragility is vulnerability, and put those two things together and to ask us just to step into that fragile space and just go with it, be comfortable with what we don't know, be willing to say, oh, that felt this way. And so thank you for modeling that. I really appreciate that. All right, so we have two people so far. And so maybe the other people who had words did not come, but if you don't mind, Amanda, we will start with you today.
Sure.
All right. And so let me just set it up for you so everyone can remember what we're doing. We're going to guess the word that is being that is on this picture, I think that she drew, and it's words from our lesson, and you should be able to kind of figure it out. So without further ado, drum roll. Boom, 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 boom. All right.
Can you see it?
Yes. All right, guesses, let's guess.
Anti-Semitism, or is it?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, good. All right. And so what does this mean? Who can share? How does this show up? What does this mean? What will be the relevance? Why do we need to talk about it? You know, all of that. It's in the book and it's in the notes. What are you thinking?
Well, even just with life, the fact that we have just had our first Jewish senator ever, do you think there's been a little bit of anti-Semitism maybe?
Yeah.
I'm just shocked. I did not realize he was the first Jewish senator. At
33. 33. I had no idea he was 33.
First millennial.
Yeah, so it's like, and that's and yeah, I had no idea he was 33. I don't know. I assumed he was in his 40s. He doesn't look like he's in his 40s, but I just did. That's just an assumption. That was my bias showing. All right. So any other thoughts around anti-Semitism? How does it show up? What does it mean? How might it impact other individuals? Why do we need to know about it and to discuss it? Very talkative group.
I guess, I mean, from the standpoint, we don't, that's part of someone's who they are, and their religion, their culture, and so if you're not, if anti-Semitic observations or thoughts are coming up, and then you are shutting down someone, you know, not bringing them full self. And we think about that when especially when this is a predominantly Christian society, with how that could show up. And I know we think about that a lot around the holidays, how we say happy holidays.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. The stereotypes can be very dangerous. Other thoughts, any other ideas?
Well, the Jewish community has long been, I think, a scapegoat for the evils that many people see in the world. When you was reading today, in the aftermath of the inauguration and the chaos on the hate sites, primarily the alt-right and white supremacist and QAnon, and how outraged they were that there were Jews who were given pardons by the president, and how tightly they were bound to the idea of Jewish conspiracy and cabals. And it's pervasive and has been for centuries, and it's an easy out group to attribute any complaint you have about your current events or the state of the country. One of the go-to scapegoat groups has been the Jews.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for that in all of the comments. Because one of the things that happened when I was doing my listening sessions after George Floyd, that came out with one organization, was a lot of people felt that there was an anti-Jewish sentiment in their organizations. And it was something that they, had the courage to say, but it's important because sometimes we wait for people to tell us that there's a problem, but as coaches and advocates, we've got to be willing to notice it And so sometimes just because it doesn't happen to me, I can pretend like it doesn't exist. And so if you have people that have different ethnicities, different religions, it's important that we just pay attention and just really start to recognize, hey, this might be a problem, for this group. This might, be causing, this individual, some challenges that I just might not even be aware of. And so it is important that we put that one on the table and really, think about it. When John Ossoff was running, they had a very racist commercial, and they were showing just the side of his nose, and so that it could really work around and bring about some of those stereotypes. So it is very important that we just start to become hyper aware as well as hypersensitive about this, so that we can, go to individuals and just check in. And also, I think we also have to come to grips with our ignorance. And I am always the first person to tell you my boo-boos. So when one day, I don't even know why, I was asking my mom, I was like, you raised me around all of these people. Why didn't I have any Jewish friends? And my mom looked at me and she was like, are you serious? Your best friend was Jewish. And I was like, who? And she said, Karen. I said, Mom, Karen is not Jewish. And she said, why do you think you would come home on all those holidays so upset because your best friend couldn't come to school? And she had perfect attendance and you had perfect attendance. But you were so upset because Karen didn't come to school, but she had perfect attendance because Karen had different holidays than you. I said, what? Karen had different holidays? And she was like, yes, well, what do you think all those bar mitzvahs, were that you were going with her? I was like, what? That was Jewish? I was older, but I was still naive. I was just a young person and, enjoying someone else's culture, but I didn't see it as she's Jewish and I'm Black. I saw it as she's my best friend and I go everywhere that she goes. And I think that sometimes we don't even know how ignorant we are. And, Karen was and my best friend until the day she unexpectedly passed of an aneurysm, and taught me so much about life. And so when we were older, I had to tell her, I said, I didn't know you were Jewish. For me, you were just my friend. You were just my best friend. We were cheerleaders together at Sutton Middle School. I was the captain, she was the co-captain. And we went to different high schools and we always came together. We went to the 25th reunion together and all that stuff. But it is important that we did, start to talk about some of the reasons why we bonded was the fact that people in the mainstream didn't necessarily accept either of us, where we were at times. And so, but who knew? So again, it's just important that we reach out, we learn, and we appreciate other people's, cultures, and we get aware that Merry Christmas might not be everyone's Christmas. And so we can say it and own it, but it's fair to say, happy holidays or whatever it is you want to say, or let people know I'm going to say Merry Christmas to you. But that doesn't mean that I'm not accepting of whatever your beliefs are. Okay. All right. So thank you. Any additions to that? All right, Charlotte.
I will add something.
Yes,
like it's funny that, I have school going children. And of course, when the Christmas comes, we give the gifts to the teachers. Mm-hmm. And so what I do is because I don't celebrate Christmas, I always have the gift card which says Happy New Year. Yes. Simply I do. And that's what I send out. Or sometimes if because of the Christmas time is always so much chaos, I normally wait till the Valentine's Day or the Teacher's Appreciation Day. So I simply skip those Christmas time and I pick either Valentine's Day or Teachers Appreciation Day, and then I send the gift card to them with a little note.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so that's how I'll try them that, okay, I don't, and my family doesn't celebrate Christmas. So like, even though my children will be involved, all the Christmas get-togethers and Valentine's get-togethers, I will send the cookies and candies and whatever has been asked. I'll do that. But yeah, so that's how I say myself. And if there is something at my occasion or my religious celebration, then I simply send cookies, 1 or 2 cookies in a gift bag, and to everyone.
Right. Yeah. And I love that. And thanks for saying it, because we just don't often think about that someone may not do what we do, because we wake up just doing what we do, and it's natural. And it is nothing wrong with celebrating it, and it's nothing wrong with not celebrating it. But it's just having that whole awareness around the fact that someone might not be doing it. So thank you for doing that. And so I sent out messages, and I think I put happy holidays. That's normally what I say. And then I wrote this whole piece, but I did put the Christmas tree because it was symbolic for me for growth, but it really wasn't a true Christmas tree. It was really just a tree. And I wanted the gifts to kind of represent all of the things that I wanted us to have: positivity, inclusiveness, and all of those things. And so I used the symbolism, but tried my best to be very, very conscious of not everybody does this. All right. So thank you for that, which helps us to kind of think about it the next time we're sending out the message to the team. Okay. All right, Charlotte, are you ready?
As ready as I think I'm gonna be.
Which is very ready. I know that. All right.
Let me see. Like Amanda, I drew something too.
Okay.
So here we go.
Got it.
Age discrimination.
Yeah.
Ageism. Yes.
Age discrimination. Okay, excellent. All right. So who wants to, you want to explain to us what it is? Or
sure. Discriminatory beliefs and behaviors directed against people because of their age.
Okay. Yes.
And when I did a little research, I was kind of shocked to see 50, because I'm kind of creeping up to 50 myself. And I was like, well, God dang.
Hey, newsflash, Charlotte, it actually starts at 40.
Oh, Lord.
I was just about to say, Charlotte, come on. I was like, HR, y'all better chime in. It's 40.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
I was like, Tracy, I need to push that a little further on. Like, I was like,
yes, ma'am.
Oh, my Lord. I feel old now.
Yeah. Yeah, so it starts early, and it starts in the workplace, and I'm going to say we've seen it. We see it all the time, and it happens. It happens with our decisions. It happens with our automatic biases, and what we want to do is to help people be aware, but also really create opportunities for inclusion. For people who may be younger, and as well as people who may be slightly older, because it can work in two directions, but there's only one group who can actually file a claim based on it, and that's the over 40 group. And they do have the history of being pushed out of organizations, and it's kind of sad, because that wisdom that they have is very much needed. And sometimes we're just into the new way of doing things. And that new way is acceptable as well. But some of that historical data, I just think, and some of the values that they are able to teach, I think are just, you need them. And I have been doing a lot of research on families and how, I don't want to say how we lost our way, but in some communities, it was always like all generations in the house. And with all of those generations in the house, the child had just gained so much because they had the parents, the grandparents, and in some chances, even the great grandparents, all under one roof. And so the more money we got, particularly in America, it's, oh, no, you can't live with me. I need to live by myself. And so we also, by living alone, is almost literally, really, I think about the quote that they said yesterday, instead of America, it's been America first and America only. So we've all had that, kind of a view. It's just about us. It's just about us. And you can see how that has changed the children, because, a long time ago, it was nothing to ask grandparents to keep their grandkids. But now it's like the parents, they want to keep the kids isolated. And so the kids don't get the same amount of coping skills. And it's just a whole lot of stuff that the kids are missing. And the value in our community, particularly in America, has shifted. People who tend to be from Latinx countries and some African countries, they still focus on that collectivist, where America is definitely listed as an individualistic culture, and we are now really getting into that. There are some people who are sandwich parents where they have their moms at home because, and the other thing is the data is also pretty clear. After a certain age, the percentages increase for all of us getting Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's running havoc in America for sure. And so a lot of us have our parents at home with dementia and our kids, but that wasn't necessarily by choice. It was like we didn't have another choice. We had to go get mom and bring her here, but she wasn't there in the best capacity, if you will. And so in the organizations, because the younger people haven't been around their grandparents or older individuals in the way that we were in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, it is this huge clash. I mean, because the whole idea of, grandma being in the workplace is a little bit different. And so that's my 2 cents on it. I think that we are in a shift. And I think that the only good thing about an economy going south is that when the economy does go south, people come together. And so we, might get more people under one roof. And even if we don't, I'm hoping that we start to recognize just the value that every person brings, no matter their age. People 40 and over definitely have something to offer, as do the young people. And I think that the Democratic Party this year recognized for the first time the value in the people who are 18 to like 20, 25, I think, because they literally did the groundwork. They did the work in the campaign. So that's my spiel. A lot of stuff, because these things that we discuss don't happen in a vacuum. They show up at work because of, historical events, because of our thinking, individualistic versus collectivist. And that's how it shows up. Other thoughts, ideas on that? Okay. All right. So today we're going back. So as you know, I'm doing a little bobbing and weaving because, as I told you, when I created my first slides, I I created these decks with 200 slides, and there was literally no way to cover 400 slides in the classes that we've had. So I'm kind of going back and dividing them, but I still want to move forward, but now I want to come back. So what I'm doing is I'm using the first deck on motivational interviewing and coaching as our coaching skills. And then I'm using the other deck to start to get us the diversity bias skills. And so we're going back and forth so that we can learn a little bit about the skill of coaching and then learn a little bit about the diversity and inclusion. So today we will come back to, as I get my computer ready, on the coaching essentials. And when I say computer ready, computer, that means, okay, you do your part. All right. All right. We are going to come right. All right. So I want us to start back at change so we understand what it is. I'm going to start right here. All right, today's, well, I mean, all the stuff is good to me, but this is going to be, oh, duh. I put it on presentation, and that would mean I can only see the presentation, but it's okay. You will too in one moment. I'm presenting to myself over here. Now, can you come over here? I normally have two computers up. My Mac is in the shop, and I'm so upset because it's a brand new Mac, and I have let them know that I'm gonna write a letter to Steve Jobs in heaven, because that is not what's supposed to happen. All right, so when we're thinking about coaching, it is very important that we get into this idea of thinking about the thinking, right? So the metacognition piece. And where I want us to be first and foremost is into the spirit, because it's the spirit that matters most. Like, you know, you can do a lot of stuff, but if you don't know the spirit of what you're doing and why you're doing it, then you're not going to be as successful. And so when we're thinking about, you know, our coaching methodology, we are using motivational interviewing to lead that. And the motivational interviewing piece, we want that to be, you know, in the forefront, primarily because it is an attitude. It is about dancing rather than wrestling, eliciting rather than imparting, you know, tapping gently rather than get over here, you know, consulting rather than instructing, guiding more than directing, listening as much as telling, and creating collaborative conversations. So when you hear these type of words that are on the left versus the words that are on the right, what energy do the words on the left bring to you? What comes to mind for you based on those words on the left?
It's a warmer approach, a softer approach.
Yes, thank you. Yes. And so thank you. Softer, again, harmony. Yes. And that's what we want. We want to really validate who is over there. All right. And that's what I'm attempting to model. We don't want anxiety. We want it to be open. We want harmony. softer, gentler. So thank you for that. And so we don't want to be, stop it, right? Stop it. No, we want to really hear why you may feel that way. And thank you. Yes, respectful. And that's what we're really aiming at doing. We want to evoke what the person already has, and we want to honor their autonomy. See, we know a lot about human behavior. And if you pay attention to your own, times when things have gone incredibly well for you, and times when you have been meeting with someone and you have wanted to choke them, even though you're not violent, it tends to be when people are trying to force you to do something rather than being patient and listening to you. It tends to be, according to the data, we get reactance when people try to force us. And then they want to convince us why they are right. And it's never about being right or wrong. It's much more about valuing where the person is. And we can meet the person where they are and lead them to a new destination. And that's what we want to be able to do as coaches. And so a key principle is making sure that people have control and choice. All right. People fundamentally want control and choice. Now, I know that I have mentioned my favorite video, but I do need to ask on this one, have I shown you the little girl worry about yourself? Because I know I'm going to show a lot of videos. Have I shown you the worry about yourself video yet? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't remember it.
Okay, good. All right, good. So I will make sure today, I want to show you that video. Today we're going to look at a couple of videos, but I'm going to make sure that I don't skip past that one. Okay. So what we are aiming for is something that we call change talk. And change talk is when we can get the person to start thinking about the possibility of shifting and changing. Okay. This is coaching from this perspective, or really when you're coaching people, period, you aren't coming in saying, stop it, and expecting them to immediately start to change. You are really trying to give them, permission to start the process of possibility of possibly thinking about changing and shifting, right? Because what we know for sure is if you come in and push them, they have a tendency to relapse faster. They have a tendency to resist. And so we're trying to get them not to resist. And so let's just say hypothetically, we have a leader in the organization, and we know that the leader isn't being as inclusive as we would want them to be. So what we do is we gently make some suggestions, and then we allow them, to come along with us. It's like, this is a journey. This is a ride. We would like you on the ride. This is not a sprint. We are interested in long-term sustainable change within the organization. And yes, I recognize and realize that some people in the organization may have felt more pain, and that pain may have existed, for a long time. And it is important that we create sustainable change, because if you run into the organization and do a quick fix, then tomorrow the individuals are going to go right back to what was natural. And so what change talk is to start to have people thinking about the possibility and what's possible. And so it's all about we are creating a picture as a coach about hope and possibility, acceptance, and then we want them to create some committed decisions. And it really is less is more. We don't have to do a lot. And our style and the way that we go about it really, really matters. And the one that is in red right here, would somebody read that one to me? What does that say?
No fixing.
No fixing. And this is not the side at Bojangles. Okay. We are saying our role is not to fix people. We are not in the fixing business. We are in the business of remembering that people are creative. What else? CRW. People are CRW. Creative. What's the next one?
Resilient.
Resilient is close.
Oh.
It's an R, CRW. We learned it first.
Resourceful.
Resourceful, creative, resourceful, and what's the third one?
Whole.
Whole, yes. So we want to keep that in our minds. People are CRW, creative, resourceful, and whole. So when you're working with people, you always want to have that in your head, in your heart, and on your hands. All right. It's like right here, CRW. The person on the other side of me, on the other side of that phone is CRW. And so what that means is I don't have to fly in, put on my cape and fix them. What I have to do is to work with what they have inside of them and pull that out, to get them to see some new perspectives, to create some new opportunities for people in the organization. Okay. And so people who are having pain in the organization, we also don't have to fix them. We have to remind them of their creative, resourceful, and whole nature, and help them to start to discover ways that they can, move the organization forward as well. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to always, and doesn't really matter where you start on this. You always want to express empathy, because if someone is coming to you, it's all about that expression of empathy. I don't want, if something happened to me and I stumped my toe, it's not about you saying, man, I stumped my toe 22 times all the time. And I just keep on moving. Well, I'm glad that you do, but my toe hurts today. And so I really need for you just to express some empathy. The second part is we always want to develop a discrepancy, and develop a discrepancy. It comes up in this coaching framework, or these coaching frameworks, with different terms. One, we talk about ambivalence. We did discuss ambivalence. The other one is kind of cognitive dissonance. And what we're attempting to do is to allow the person to really start to see that the behavior that they are doing might not be working for them in the long haul. Okay, so if you have that leader who is always going to one person on a team, and your goal is to create diversity and inclusion, what you want to do in terms of trying to develop the discrepancy is not always telling them, you can't always go to them, right? Because again, you're going to get, now she's trying to tell me what to do, or now he's trying to tell me what to do. And that means I'm going to do it even more. And so with developing discrepancy, we could do something like say, I think it's great that you have one person on your team that you use a lot. I wonder what will happen if that person never left the organization. How will you create balance, right? And so you didn't tell them what they had to do. What you did was you you created something that left them thinking, oh shoot, you know, if Bob leaves, what's going to happen? And so now they're starting to think, and so you develop that discrepancy. And that's what your questions are designed to do, develop discrepancy. And again, it's between what they're doing and what might be helpful for them to do. Does this make sense? Questions about this? Okay. So this is the type of stuff that we're going to be practicing in our coaching.
Dr. Cherry,
Yes.
what happens if after you share that with a manager and it doesn't change?
Oh, it's not going to change. Probably, let me say this. One chance or one comment or one conversation never changes. And I shouldn't say never, rarely changes behavior. So that's where we get to the next step, Glendale, and that is rolling with the resistance. Because what we have to do is roll with the resistance. We have to notice that whatever their behavior is, they're going to keep doing it. They're going to continue to do it. And so you're going to roll with that resistance and then, you know, just continue to find ways to, you know, to point out in a dancing way rather than being forceful. And saying, oh, okay, so I can see that you know, Bob is still doing great for you, and I think you know, way to go. And just the other day when we were in that meeting, I noticed that, you know, that Lulu seemed a little put off. Is, you know, what might be going on with Lulu? So it's still asking questions. We're not saying you're doing a horrible job because you're giving Bob all the work. We're just trying to check in. And again, we're constantly developing that discrepancy. So we're rolling with that resistance. Because if we again come back and say, I told you the last time, don't do that, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Change imposed is change opposed. Nobody likes change but a wet baby. I've said it before. We have seen wet babies who do not want to be changed. They run all around the house and their little pampers sagging. Like, come here, child. I'm trying to help you. I don't want to change your boo-boo. It stinks. But we are trying to help. And so in order to make that work, we got to think about, you know, rolling with the resistance. We got to go get them and catch them and play with them and get those diapers changed. And so that's what we do. We just keep rolling with the resistance because we're a partner in this. We aren't the person who is leading them to change. We are leading them to contemplate doing it so that it comes from them and not from us. And the last piece in this equation is supporting self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is one of the greatest words, and this comes from Bandura's theory. And efficacy is about your ability to successfully have done something. And so what we know for sure is when people do things well and they have small wins, they are much more likely to continue to do it. The greatest predictor of a person's success is not self-esteem, it is self-efficacy. It's the belief that I can because I have. And so what we're trying to help them to do is to see you had small wins. I remember you were able to give Lulu some tasks. And it looked like she did them, you know, kind of, you know, she did a pretty good job on them. So good, you know, kudos on that. So we're supporting the self-efficacy and the getting the opportunity. Questions, thoughts, making sense? Right.
Makes sense, but it seems like it's harder in execution. Yeah.
I am so glad you said that. So what we know for sure is the hardest thing to do is to be a true coach. That is the hardest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is to tell somebody what to do. Just tell them. And so coaching in its purest sense takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of energy, because we have to really think, what does the person need? What do they want? How can I support them? Thinking that this is their own idea, as opposed to me just telling them, listen, this is what I need you to do. Because we know that that doesn't create change. I mean, prisons are full of people who didn't learn and were told a whole lot of stuff. And if you ever had the opportunity to speak to people, it's that their own self-efficacy wasn't supported. They didn't get empathy. And everyone just kept telling them and telling them. And now, you got a whole group of people who can't think. If you think about what happened at the Capitol, many of those people who've been interviewed, because that's what I love. I just love interviews. I like listen to what in the world drove you to do this. People aren't thinking. And so what you can get is you can get blind, compliance. You can get people just to do it. You can get them to comply, but do you really have acceptance? And so if you don't have people accepting what you really want to do and doing it for the right reasons, you will spend a whole lot of time telling them what to do. And then you'll come back and they'll be doing the same thing 6 months later. You're like, well, what happened? It was because it was your idea, not theirs. And so in the beginning, it takes some time. You're going to put the time in on the front end. And we want to think about, from a human behavioral standpoint, Skinner was a wonderful scientist. And so what Skinner worked on was shaping behavior. And so what Skinner showed us is if you want it, and he always did it, well, actually, that's not true. I was about to say he always did on animals, and they were treated well and ethically, but he actually did it on children too, but not in America. So it's a whole nother story. And it worked. What he did actually worked. So what he would do from a behavioral standpoint is he would reward positive behavior. So when he saw something that was positive, he would reward that. Just like Thorndike's law of effect, that which is rewarded is what gets done. And so he would shape behavior by every time a pigeon did what he wanted, he would give a pigeon, a little thing. And so what he was able to do was get the pigeon to turn all the way around based on just that reward. And so I'm not saying that we are pigeons, but what I am saying is, as a coach, our goal is to figure out, how do we get these people to make a 360? How do we get them to create the shift? How do we get them to change? And so some of that requires a different level of thinking, because we know the thinking that we've used has gotten us into this mess. Whatever the situation is at the time, we're in a mess now. And so what we're trying to do is to create something that is slightly different. And that does require, a little bit of time, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of empathy. And when people feel that you care about them, when people feel like they are being heard, there's a huge tendency for behavior to start shifting and starting to change. And I can say this, I've been coaching since 1998. When I started coaching from 1998 to 2004, I was telling people what to do. And I was so proud of myself. Woo, I'm getting down. I'm doing it. Because my people, they were doing all kind of stuff. They were getting promoted. They were losing weight. Just whatever I told them to do, they were doing it. But the most amazing thing that just kept happening was they kept coming back asking the same questions. And I'm like, well, what is wrong? I already told you that. And why do you think they were coming back to me? Why do y'all think they were coming back to me? I told them already. Why are they coming back?
It wasn't their own.
Yes. Yeah. They didn't have the rule book. Yeah. Right. Well, they couldn't own it because it wasn't theirs, Tammy. It was my stuff. I'm telling them. Right. So I'm like, stop it. Stop it. And the reality is I didn't take the time up front to figure out what is the core issue. What's the root cause? If you get to the root, you can get to the fruit. And sometimes asking that simple 5 whys will help you get to the fruit. And so we've got to get to the fruit to start to recognize what needs to shift and what needs to change. It's not your strategy. It's not my strategy that creates the change. It's developing the discrepancy and finding out what's important to them that does. So we have to be very mindful that it's not about us. It's about the client. And so each situation is different. So as you're working with the people and you're looking around and you want some shifting and some changing, you got to talk to them. You got to ask them, hey, what's going on? What do you think is happening? What are your goals? What is it that you really, really are interested in? And it's not about judging them. It's about finding opportunities where they're doing it right and then starting to make deposits in their bank account. And then you're going to write a few checks, and those checks are, corrective things. And then, over time, they're going to do next thing you know, voila, they're heading in a whole new direction, because it's really empowerment. True coaching is empowerment. What Tony Robbins does is hypnosis. So we don't want to hypnotize people. We want to find and connect them back to their values so they can start to make shifts.
So, Dr. Collier, this is Deborah Higginbotham. I have a question.
Hi, Deborah.
So while you're investing this time and effort to bring the person along, this is from an in-house employer perspective. What do you do with the other staff observing where from their perspective, this person is continuing to not be a contributor and a positive force? How do you handle that?
Right. Excellent question. And so this is communication, right? So, and I'll give you a generic example because I face this a lot with one of my clients, and on the employee viewpoint survey for them, the highest negative is poor performers aren't dealt with, right? And so what we have created is some messaging for everybody that says, one, from an HR perspective, we can't let you know how we're dealing with the poor performers. But if you see something, please say something and know that we are handling it. It might take us some time. It might not look the way you expect it to look, but you can trust and believe that every person or every situation that is brought to us, we are working through it. And so that comes from trust and psychological safety, that they can start to trust you. Now, if the person has explosive outbursts or something like that, when you're developing the discrepancy, there are some things when we go back to the 8 core competencies that we mentioned. Speaking to them directly is necessary at times, right? So you can just say, hey, you know, to develop a discrepancy, to develop a discrepancy, we could use the tool direct communication. It could be something like this. You know, I know that you're well-intentioned, and what I am hearing and seeing and experiencing for myself is some type of ambivalence with your style and the way that it's landing on the individuals. Can you help me with that? Right? And so you're developed the discrepancy. You're saying something about your behavior is causing this. How do we want to work on it? And then you kind of roll through this process. It doesn't mean that you don't tell people or you don't share the specific feedback and
Right.
try to get them to move. But it is about the style and the way that you do it, right?
Right.
So if the behavior is continuing, you know, we want to let them know, hey, this seems to be harmful to other people, you know, and express empathy, saying, I wonder if I did this to you, how that would make you feel. So we got to give them that information, you know, for sure. If it's starting to hurt people, and you can do something like a 360, and get them that data.
Okay,
Does that,
thank you. Yep.
does that answer the question though? And can you give me some feedback on, is there more or less you need on that? Does that make sense? Does that help?
No, that makes sense. You know, I'm good. Your answer was great, and it's actionable on our part. So that's great.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Yes. So we don't allow, so I'm not saying we want bad behavior, right, at all. But what I am saying is that the way that we want to approach it is to the best of our ability, not from a cancel culture perspective, but really from a trying to work through it. Let's develop that discrepancy. And so sometimes in that scenario, what I just mentioned, the role with the resistance is that person's denial. And so their denial is going to be all about, oh no, I'm not a bad person. No, you're not. You're not a bad person. The behavior that is being exhibited is. And so I really want to partner with you to work on this behavior. And how do you think we can deal with that? And so my homework for you would just be to observe your behavior and observe how other people are reacting. Are you willing to try that and then come back and, you know, kind of work with it? So we're gonna get laser focused on what the challenge is, but we're not gonna, you know, tell them you got to do X, Y, and Z, because X, Y, and Z is kind of like using aggression to solve an aggressive problem. You know, if they are already aggressive, we're just trying to bring it down a few notches. But thanks for that one. Other thoughts, ideas, other questions on this? Other real life examples needed? All right. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So yeah, so I've kind of gone through them already when I was on the first one, but developing the discrepancy is the cognitive dissonance, just making sure that the person understands their core value, their life goal, and the difference, right? So, you know what? I really see you as someone who wants to empower, someone who wants to be successful, someone who really wants to lead. But some of the behaviors that are coming out, and some of the ways that you may be unintentionally, you know, treating people might not be helping you to get to that, you know. But I think at your core, you have really good intentions. How can we work on that? And, you know, and to Tammy's point, use their courage in this situation to have them own, you know, a potential shift, right? And so it's not my idea, it has to be theirs. And so help them create the cognitive dissonance necessary to start to shift the behavior. This is going to sound very weird, but I will say 99% of the time, and I mean, honestly, 99% of the time, people who are terrors don't know that they are terrorists. They just don't know. They don't know they're terrorists in the office. And what I've learned is that they have so many dead bodies. They leave all this carnage behind because nobody has kind of figured out a way to tell them. And everybody's kind of just letting all the dead bodies go. Now all the dead bodies are buried. And so they are now getting stronger and stronger and stronger because no one has kind of addressed that. And when you sit down and let them know, dude, you have a full cemetery. I know that's not your intent. They normally start crying. And so I think it's the way that we do it. And it's not that you don't have to be direct. It's not that you don't have to sit them down and say, hey, here's the cemetery, but it's just making sure that we're developing that discrepancy. But we want to have some evidence-based, ideas around it. All right. So resistance tends to come from the fear. We all have fear. And not that we are therapists at all, but you have to know that our current behaviors are absolutely rooted in our childhood behaviors. So people don't just wake up and come to the office and separate themselves from what happened at home or what happened in elementary school, what happened in middle school. No, all of that stuff has created who they are. So if hypothetically their parents, were a certain way, if they were left in a foster home, or if they've had a tough life, all of that stuff is baked in this ingredient that you are trying to turn into something that has a nicer flavor. I mean, it can have spice with it. It can be sweet and salty. I mean, that's okay, but you just want to make sure that they start to become aware of the flavor that they are bringing into the organization, because ultimately we are responsible for the energy that we bring into this space. And so what brings about the resistance is my fear of change. My fear that if I change, I'm going to lose something. That's kind of the whole idea of the way the human psyche works. It's that threat, the threat of me not being able to be heard, or me going back to being the little girl that was in the back of the classroom that was bullied or something, So I'm not telling you that you have to think about that, think about what that was for them, but just be aware that is probably a part of the resistance. It's the whole person. And to me, that's also why all coaching is really life coaching, even if you're calling it executive coaching, diversity and equity coaching, it's still about their life, because you're still trying to work with the whole person. And you're just trying to give them, permission to start the process of shifting something. So we want to make sure that we don't try to persuade them. We want to try to create real shifts, because direct persuasion and arguments, they typically don't work. We want to get to the root cause. What's the value? What's the fear? And has this ever happened to you? And how would you like to have it, shift so that things can be different? Okay. So when we say support efficacy, it's really about building a confidence, promoting their self-esteem, and letting them know that you believe in them. Because a lot of times the bullies in the organization, they never had people that believed in them. And so if you come to the bully and you say, bully, I believe in you, it does shift the energy. And you want them to know that you're there as a partner. And so sometimes when these messages come down, to people, and the first thing they feel, I've done all this for the organization, yeah, you have, and we are so thankful. And now we want to do something for you. And what we want to do for you is have you show up differently so that you can empower more people and you can do more for the organization. And so it's the way that we do it. We want to believe in their ability to shift the change and to make the change. Okay. Making sense? All right. Yeah, we're not going to have arguments with them. Again, we're not trying to tell them, what to do. We're not the authority on what they need to do. They are. We trust 100% that they can make their own decisions, and however they choose to do them, it's going to be okay. We are really there to help them kind of walk through it. And so when you're doing coaching, it's not do this or leave. And so that's why many organizations and HR departments bring me in. And sometimes they bring me in and they'll clearly say, if I need you to coach them up or coach them out. And that's what I do. I go in, I coach them up or I coach them out. And so if I can't get them to make a shift, okay, then this probably is not going to work for them. And so and that's why it's important at times to separate the coach from HR. And then you can actually have an HR coach, but that person needs to really be interested in helping with the behavior change, because it doesn't need to be punitive. It needs to be, something that you're working with them on. Right? Now, coaching can be punitive, right? And that means that you can be assigned to a coach because of punitive behaviors. But when they are working with you as and you're the coach, your role is non-punitive. Your role is to be there to coach them up, or coach them out, but still really discover their values, to listen to them, to work, to bring them back, to rehabilitate them, and really try to work on reform, and help them to see their value, understand what you believe is the means to an end. So your role is to kind of say, I know that you didn't wake up in the morning, trying to harm and create a full cemetery. But you have one now. And so now we have all these dead bodies. What is it that you would like to do so we don't have to have any more funerals? Okay. So it is that you can be direct, but it's still helping them. All right. Does that make sense? You guys following? Because I can't see anybody. And I don't have to see you all, I understand, but I need to at least have a text. All right, thank you. Yay, you're there. All right. All right, so that's all about the spirit. When we're thinking about this particular style in general, which is my absolute favorite, I didn't get to this style until probably about 2010. And this is by far the best style of coaching ever. And because in 1998, I told you I was in the telling, thinking I was a coach. And then after that, 2004, I was still really, really process driven. Here's my process. We're going to do the MBTI, then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. All the while I'm going through all of this stuff, and the person is getting all of this data, but I haven't done anything to help them change their behavior because I'm focusing on a process, but not on the person. And so motivational interviewing takes from the foundation, the interpersonal style. That's my style and the client style. And together We work through, you know, open-ended questions, affirmations, reflective, and the summary, and then we get to strategies. And so it's really about them, and being about them is really what helps to create the shift and the change. And so it's like, if we're going to repaint the wall, I know we kind of talked about this already, because I remember somebody said the prep step. We're gonna create the prep. We got to do some prep work. And so before we start to paint, we might need a scraper. We got to put the tape up. It's a lot of stuff that we have to do before we actually, you know, do all of that. And so why do we need a scraper first before we put on the paint? Who knows?
Take off the old paint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so what, in terms of a metaphor for working with our clients, why might we need that? So that answer was correct, 100% correct. And now this is a new question. So why might we need that before we start to really dive in? Why might we need a scraper?
So the paint or the new information or the change sticks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I like it. Start fresh, new mindset. Yeah. We want to kind of get rid of the old stuff, right? And so that's why we want to clear. We want to kind of do a clearing. Okay, so we're clear. We got this whole cemetery. We don't want that anymore. What's going to be our new vision? You know, what is it that you want? We might not be able to go straight. We might have to have a hospital first. We might need triage. We might not be able to go just back to healthy, right? So we don't necessarily have to create unrealistic goals. You know, we might have some people in hospice for a while, but maybe not at the cemetery, right? But it's the whole idea that we're trying to start fresh, we're trying to start new, and we're trying to give the person a new place of being. And so, you know, we want to let you know it's about the hard work, the scraping, cleaning, the brush, all of that, just like you all kind of said. And so we kind of think that the scraper is what we want to do before we paint. And the paintbrush is our traditional way of supporting the change. And so we want to do both. We got to have a scraper, scrape this stuff off. And that's, it's just a methodology. When you see someone, we tend to see other people and think they can change like that. But when we in our head start to think about how long it has taken us to shift and to change, woo, I had some behaviors I have had since I was an infant that have not shifted yet. Okay. And I don't recognize them until someone else, you know, points them out. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I'll be perfectly honest and give you one of them. So I'm, as I say, I was an only child, but because both of my parents are deceased now. And so I don't know, it's like I am an only child. I guess that's it. I still am. But my mother didn't work. So my mother's full-time job was to take care of me. And my mother never left my side. Like, she was with me every day, all day, except on Sundays. There was this team called the Atlanta Falcons that played at the Fulton County Stadium. And she would leave me with these people that she called her mother and her brother. I didn't know them. I only knew my mom. I knew they would always want to grab me and hold me and hug me, but these people, I don't really know them. And so every Sunday, when we went through this little ritual for 16 weeks or however many weeks they had the game, I would throw a complete tantrum, right? I would just fall out. And as a psychologist today, when I see kids, falling out, I don't think the same way other people think. Because the people say, honey, if that was my child, I would do this. No, I wouldn't. Because if a child is falling out, and this is what I do, I walk over there and I say, what's up? What is it that you're trying to get that you can't get? What is the adult not hearing you say? Because I understood why I had the tantrums. And the truth is as an adult, just so y'all know, I still have tantrums. I just fall out. Every now and then I just fall out. So I'm not proud of my tantrums, but my tantrums let me know that something, is not going well. And so those are kind of triggers, so I can kind of work through them and think about them. Not many people are as introspective or spend as much time talking to themselves as I do. So I don't expect everybody to understand, how this has been going on forever and how it's actually supported, so much so that my mother told me once I was 2, as long as I learned about the game, she would take me. And I learned everything. I couldn't even speak, but I learned what those people were doing. I know everything about football to this day because I had to leave when my mother went to that game. And so my behavior, my mother bought into my tantrum and made sure that she never had to leave her child again. And so my mother and I went to games up until the day she passed. And that's a long story. I'll talk about that at another time, how she got me into this darn PSL. And now she's gone, but it's okay. We're going to work through it because I can still go and celebrate the whole reason why I went there. Point in that long story is you got to think about that scraper and knowing that some of that paint is deep. Like it's going to take some scraping to understand where that tantrum came from. So just because you as a leader comes to me and say, don't throw no more tantrums, that ain't working. That doesn't mean that I'm going to stop, because first of all, I probably haven't even realized that is central and core. And I've been doing that for decades. So that's the type of thing that we have to think about. What's the value? What's the person trying to get? Where is it going? And so just saying as an adult, I wouldn't take that from my child, doesn't stop the fact that people still have tantrums. Make sense? All right. So we want to do, we got to do some prep steps before we take action. And so we're building the motivation. Well, you want to open the encounter, and that's open the encounter with the individual, kind of what's going on. What do you want to talk about? We're going to build their motivation. We're going to support the transition. We're going to strengthen the commitment, and then we're going to close the encounter. So these are the steps that we will be using when we do our practice coaching today. A few more steps I'm going to teach you today. Right. So in the open encounter, you're explaining your role, how long you're going to coach. If you have an agenda, you want to share it, want to ask for permission. Do I have your permission to kind of talk this, through with you today? You want to have a why phase, ask a lot of questions, assess their readiness. We assess readiness on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you for change? Explore ambivalence, ask those questions that create the discrepancies. Encourage them to elaborate. You want to look back and forward. So if we were to look back at the last time this happened to you, and you threw a tantrum, how did that work out for you? And many times they'll say, I ended up getting what I wanted. Okay, well, great. So as we think about going forward, if there were a way for you not to throw tantrums and still get what you want, what might that look like? And so that's what we're trying to help people to start to think about. All right. So we want to recognize the readiness, summarize the big picture. So in the big picture, what I hear is that you want to be a more effective leader and not just throw tantrums with your team members. Okay. And so, you know, what's the transition look like for you? And then what's that next step? So after you see the change, what's the next step that you will be able to do? And then brainstorm. So let's think about ways that we might be able to do this. And in the brainstorm, what you want to do is just have a whole lot of possibilities, okay? And so just have them think about a million ways. So instead of throwing tantrums, what are some things you might be able to do? And just throw out off, I mean, just everything, including the kitchen sink. So we don't want to have any judgment around them. And then we start to, let's negotiate a plan. So what if we started with, you know, this one? What might be a barrier for us starting that? And then identify the support and elicit a final commitment and summarize and then appreciate. So this is kind of the frame, right? This is kind of what we need to do in every little setup. And this is what I'm going to have you all do today. See if I can take a picture of this. Because I think it's in your, it should be in the packet you have. Oh man, I'm on it. David, you and I are on the picture, but I'm gonna send it. I'll send it to you. I'll put it in the chat. Okay. I'm gonna put this in the chat. Oh, wait a minute. It said it didn't say. Give me 1 second. I'll put this process in the chat. One moment. I know it's in your thing. Is it big enough? Is it big enough to see, Kathy? That was my concern. It's big enough? Okay. So it isn't play. Yeah, perfect.
So.
All right, great. All right. So what we're going to do now is, if I can done, the done's on the screen. I want us to practice this. Okay. So you're gonna do the opening counter, phase 1, think about supporting the transition, phase 2, and then closing the encounter. We're just going to do, let's do 2 people. Let's do 2 people. Okay. Any questions before we get ready to go into this? I'm going to give you 10 minutes apiece to work through this. Okay. And
So we're just asking them what something they want to solve, or
yes. So here's the setup. All right. You're going to have 10 minutes apiece, 1 client, 1 coach, and you're going to start by asking them, you know, is there something they would like to work on? You're going to ask for permission. And so let's say my example for today is I want to work on my tantrums. All right. And so then I'll go through the process of just thinking about that. So I'm going to give everybody kind of a moment right now to think about what it is they might want to work out on while I am starting to set up the breakout rooms. All right. So Tracy, let's see. We're gonna have 1 group of 3. And in that 1 group of 3, you can have the choice of if you want to split the time where everybody goes, or how you want to do it. Okay, so we are using exercise. Think of what you want to change. Open account. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. My God, you are amazing. All right, so Kathy has put it in the chat exactly what we are doing. And we will start exactly, we're going to start at 2:30, and you'll have 10 minutes apiece. And then, oh, you need to step away, Tammy. Okay, hold on. Let me move this. Okay, perfect. So this way, no, that's fine. All right, so let me do this. I'm going to make the group of 3 your room. Perfect. I think, hold on. This thing always gets me. All right, so Tammy is here in room 4. So I got to put somebody in room 4 with her. Okay, perfect. All right. So anybody have any questions? So that my math is right this time with Google, we're going to come back at 2:55. Why? Because I never give bathroom breaks, and this will give you a chance in between your sessions to take a break. Does 2:55 sound right? If we have 10 and 10, and then come back at 2:55.
Yes.
Okay. All right. 2:55 return. All right. So let's practice. Whatever you do is going to be just fine. Whatever you want to work on is going to be just fine. We're just practicing the process of, setting it up, talking about it, and then, supporting efficacy and just kind of walking through this. Okay. All right. I will see you at 2:55. Okay, Google, give me an alert at 2:55.
2:55 p.m. Set.
Oh, no.
I've been on the sick and shut in list.
We'll have to bring you a plate by then. We'll have to send you
Oh, right.
All right. I love it. I love it. So welcome back, everyone. It's good to see the faces that I haven't seen. That's why I love when they come back from breakouts. That's very, very, very exciting. So I want to start with the first thing. It is very difficult to do this wrong, because the goal is just to be present. And so as long as you're present and you have the right mindset, it doesn't, the client will get the results.
Well, I'm sorry. I think that the reason I said I think I did it wrong was I think that I kind of there were some similarities, and I think as being the coach, well, it was kind of like we bounced back and forth. So when I was supposed to be the coach, I was actually the client and he was a coach. So that's why I thought maybe we did it a little wrong. And based how structured it was last week, this one was a little bit unstructured personally for me.
Okay. Okay. It's okay. Other thoughts, other comments? How did everybody else feel? How did you feel about it? How did it work for you?
I personally, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I personally thought it was a great exercise. As folks do know me, I clearly love talking about all of my issues. But I think Lynn did a great job of helping me with that. But yeah, I thought it was great. We didn't actually take a break because we were so caught up in it. So I thought it was great.
Okay. Nice. Okay, other thoughts?
Yeah, Leslie and I didn't take a break either. We were really caught up in it. It was, it's good to practice, especially when it kind of scares you a little bit.
Yeah.
You start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess this up. But one thing that I found difficult, and I didn't realize I was doing it, and Leslie brought it to my attention, is the brainstorming ideas. When I thought that I was like, oh, have you tried this? You should try this. And it's not you should, it's have you thought about trying this? Have you, that kind of thing. And she brought that to my attention, and I thought that, because you don't realize you're doing it, and you're trying to fix them or fix the issue. And I'm a fixer. I'll be the first person to say it. My husband tells me all the time, you can't fix everything. But I just think that's our nature too.
It is.
So it was really good to put it into practice, because you don't realize you're doing it. And then the suggestions, maybe, what about if you said this? Or have you thought about this? Has this worked for you?
Yes.
I thought it was really good. Even though it scared the hell out of me at first, I thought it was good.
Yes. All right. I love it. Anybody else?
Well, see, I can piggyback off what Amanda was saying, which is why I said that last week's exercise worked better for me. David and I were in one together. And since we work together, we already have, I guess we know each other. So we know things about each other. So I think we kind of went on like a personal, we kind of got way relaxed with it. Kind of like we were sitting in the break room having a conversation with our legs crossed. And so that's why I said, I think it kind of missed the mark a little bit. And because then we actually was talking about our sons. So when you start talking about family, or we both have sons, and we started talking about a lot of things that happen to be common. So I kind of did what Amanda did. I didn't say, have you tried? I was like, oh, well, you should do, because I'm thinking, like I said, we in the break room, I'm in the church annex, and I just started going left with it. And then I think I failed in that way, because I bought my own personal stuff into it. I was like, well, you should try this, or this is what worked for me. And as a coach, I know we're not supposed to do that. So I was kind of fixing, and he was kind of fixing. We were fixing each other. So
excellent. Anybody else?
But to kind of not to get around that, Dr. Cherry, sorry. Could Charlotte have said, I have some experience in that. Do you mind if I share what has worked with me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's the way you get around it. You ask for permission. You don't just share what you know. You always ask. And the way that I want you to think about it, I want you to think about that you have the Mega Millions jackpot. You lose it all if you tell them. All the money goes if you just offer. And so you had this full jackpot, and now you lost it. And so what you want to think about is, okay, how can I keep my jackpot? And you keep your jackpot by asking questions that will pull it out of them. And then once you get a little bit out of them, you put a little bit in. That you get a little bit more, you can put a little bit in. But you lose your complete jackpot if you're continuing to give them information. And so it takes them more time to think about it, because you have to think about what happens with individuals. They can't see themselves. So if they had the answer, they wouldn't be talking to you, right? And so they think they have an answer, and they think that the problem that they're trying to solve is, is simple, because everything is simple for them. But the reality is it tends to take them a little bit longer to really process and really think about. And what you want them to do is come up with different ways of doing it. And so, yeah, that sounds great. It sounds like you probably have done that one before. So what else is possible? And you're just really pulling out and just kind of, having them to think about it. So great stuff. It's good to feel uncomfortable. What we know, because I'm the science person here. What we know about human beings is that anytime we feel comfortable, we have the potential of not doing it well. So there's healthy anxiety, and so that's just what we always want. We want to make sure we have this healthy level of anxiety, because that anxiety pushes us to want to do our best. And so when people think they got it, what we know is, whether it's a test, a presentation at work, or whatever, a football game, that's when the people do the worst. So yay on feeling uncomfortable, yay on continuing to check yourself and asking, oh, am I doing this right? Because that's what pushes us to that level of making sure we're doing it right. All right.
What about if you're sharing? What about if you're sharing? Because I recognize Deborah and I are both, HR background. And well, I hope I wasn't trying to fix it. Maybe I was, I'm not sure. But we were kind of started feeding off ideas, it's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I'm like, oh, good. So we were sort of sharing our ideas versus which were good ideas. I mean, I don't know if that's a fix it.
No. So here's the thing. If you have rapport with someone and you're sharing it and you're going back and forth, that's not a problem. What we're trying to stay away from is me telling you, okay, here are the 5 ways that we can solve this thing. You could do this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. Meanwhile, the other person is just sitting there like, am I here? Because like Amanda, many of us, whether it's at home, at work, or in our lives, have been fixers. So I know I'm a fixer. I mean, you give me a problem, doggone it, I'm going to solve it. And so it's like, what? Oh, you could do this, this, and this. And I give myself that permission with my, significant other, because he ain't going to fix it. So I got to fix the situation. And that's a totally different thing for me. So when I have on that hat, it's, the refrigerator's broken. Okay, it's just a number, right? We just dial a number and somebody can come. Okay, never mind. Let me just fix it. So that's in one area of my life. But when I'm working with someone as a coach and they say the refrigerator is broken, it has to be a question immediately. So what are the options that you have, right? Even though I know for me what the answer is, it's called AHS, call the homeowners people, call those people. I have to pretend like I don't know, because being an expert for coaching isn't what we want. We're trying to get them to get to their own answers. Now, if you're sharing, I value that. So I want you to share with me what's coming up for you. And so we can go back and forth, because I can grow from that, because it's not me just talking to myself. So it's not a all or nothing. It's just it depends.
Because we had some common grounds, like David and Charlotte had. It was like when we realized that we were both HR, and I'm like, wait, then we just started talking about HR stuff.
Yeah.
But good.
And so know that there's a difference in telling somebody what to do and partnering in a brainstorm, right? To put out your ideas. Because putting out my ideas doesn't mean that I'm saying this is how you have to do it. I'm just adding possibilities. And what I'm really trying to do is throw it really all the way down the field so that they won't have these small ideas, because that's what I might have had, what I know how to do. So sometimes I come up with grandiose ideas that will push them differently. They don't have to accept them, but I can, say, hey, do you mind if I offer, or have you thought about this, or whatever like that? Yeah. So it's not that we don't say anything, because we're going to work. It can be a dialogue for sure. But what we're doing is coming with a question, not with a statement. Is it possible? Have you thought about? Okay, that type of space. Got it?
Okay.
Right. And so with the whole idea of the fixing is what we just don't want to do. We don't want to fix them. We want to let them fix themselves. And as they fix themselves, it's going to be better for them. Right. So I will think that you guys, did you did well, and we will continue to grow in it. We'll continue to practice in it, and it'll get better. And that's what you want to do. And so, we tend to just ask people questions like their comfort in role playing, comfort in whatever it is, and you want to get a number from them. You want to ask, so your ability to think you can stop throwing tantrums on a scale of 1 to 10, where you think you are. I don't know. I'm married to those things. A 4, and so you do this so that you have an idea of where they are. And then, what number did you pick and why did you pick it? And that's what we're trying to get them to start to consciously, connect where they are. And you want just to have them, think about it. All right. So we want to just make sure people feel comfortable, participate, build rapport, release tension, let go of resistance, and to be able to work together. That's what you're trying to do the whole time. That's what you're doing, building rapport. And the thing that I have to say is that any of these steps, it's most important that you build rapport. So if the person isn't saying anything, then you might have to say, oh, I was just sitting here thinking about this. Does this resonate with you? So you can say something and then ask a question and bring it back to them, because the goal is to break down the barriers and to create, a partnership. And so it sometimes takes people a little bit longer to be willing to share what they're even thinking with you. So, I don't want you to think, oh, I can't ever tell them anything, because then you can say, hey, can you mind if I share a story? I had a situation like this, and you can put it out there, and that might open up a door where then they're like, oh man, that happened to her. Wow. And now I say anything. So you want to just do it, but everything that we're doing is by design to really be there for them. And that's the biggest goal. It isn't we are messing up if we do X. It's more, how can we make sure that people feel good and people feel empowered? And sometimes you have to use your own, inequities and growth for someone else. So you let your story become a testimony to someone else. This is important that we think about this here. Resistance, if you ever get resistance in a coaching session or with people in general, resistance is a sign of lack of rapport. And it means that you might not have enough empathy, or your style might not be connecting with them. And so there are no resistant people, only inflexible communicators and managers. And so what this means is if you're asking someone to do something and they're constantly going to the left and you're going this way, you're going to have to figure out a way to shift the message. You're going to have to figure out a way to go in and grab them, go in and connect with them, because we know that people are not resistant to doing crazy stuff. And so I normally use Jim Jones or 9/11, but now I can use January 6th, the Capitol. People can be convinced to do anything. And so if you can't convince someone to do something small, it only means you don't have the rapport. And so I'm not saying that we want people to go and break into capitals or fly their planes in the buildings. But what I am saying is when you have enough rapport with people and you communicate with them in a way, they will do anything for you. And so sometimes it is just really about building that style, building that communication, just listening to them. So sometimes in your first 10 minutes it's just a connection point. We got to have some place to connect. And so the more resistance you get, the probability is it's about something that they don't want to do, and you just don't have that opportunity to tell them. But we know people will do anything. All right. And we also know that people really like autonomy. And now we're going to get to my favorite little video with the little girl, worry about yourself. People like autonomy. People like to be able to do it themselves. They need like to be able to figure it out themselves. Even when you think they cannot do it, they still like it. So let's watch my absolute favorite video, because to me, this video is everything, because it shows the need to figure it out for yourself. All right.
Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself.
Can I help?
No. I help. I don't. You can help when we're out to eat, okay? You can help when we're out to eat.
Okay.
Do you have this sissy?
Probably. You want me to help, Rose?
No. Thank you. No, thank you.
What do you want me to do?
Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. I'll do this one, so I'm gonna do that. You drive! Worry about yourself. Go drive.
Okay. All right. All right. What did you get from that video?
Worry about yourself.
Worry about yourself.
Worry about yourself. Mind your own business.
You drive.
Only thing I can't do, right? Say I can't drive, but if it's gonna take me 5 hours to get this seatbelt, I can do that. Okay. You do your job. Let me do mine. Right. And that's what human beings are saying to us. Okay. They're asking us, can you worry about yourself? Let me try, let me fail, let me mess up. And when I do, that's something else. Don't micromanage me. Yes. Let me do this thing. I got this. And we come out this way. Like autonomy is a very big thing for most people. People who don't like autonomy are in the minority. People who are in organizations, is the higher up you go, the more autonomous people tend to be. So most of us are fighting every day, for the chance just to be. That's what we want. And so our coach's job is to highlight that. Other thoughts, ideas popped up when you saw that little girl. Okay. That's what we want. We want to allow our clients the opportunity to fiddle with the seatbelt. It might be tough. We want to ask, what can I do? How can I help? Roll with the resistance, laughing with them, knowing we can't take off until the thing is done, right? We can't move without the seatbelt because it's a safety issue. But, sometimes you just got to let them try it out, let them mess it up, let them learn. Because that's what we are all asking for. Don't put your cape on, fly in there trying to fix other people. Even little bitty babies want the chance to make it work for them. And that's the lesson. That's my favorite video, for sure. Because I'm always I used to tell my mama that worry about yourself. Please worry about yourself. Yes. All right.
Well, when you swoop in like that, it makes you feel like you don't have the confidence in them, and therefore they will start not having confidence in themselves. I have to make sure I don't do that with my daughter. I was like, here, I'll do that for you. I'll help you. Where it makes her feel like she can't do it right. And she, why even bother?
Right. And that's what you're teaching, right? So that's the message unconsciously that you're sending. You're sending this message that mommy has all the answers. And not to pick on Generation Z, but their coping skills are the worst ever. And these helicopter parents and lawnmower parents, when I stopped teaching at a university in 2018, I have been teaching since 1995 at the college level. Starting in about 2016, parents started calling me about their children's work. I said, first of all, we have laws. So you can't call me because you did your child's paper and you trying to figure out why your child got a C. Your child got a C because your child can't explain the paper because you did it. This is me talking to you now. Can you let them fail? Because if you let them fail, I will guarantee you I won't let them fail the class. But it's enablement, it's an empowerment. It's the process of recognizing the difference in giving somebody a life vest and trying to pull them. I want you to have a life vest and I want you to have swimming lessons. So you see, those are different things. If I see you about to drown, okay, there's your life vest, boo. You got it? Okay. Because I'm going to trust with the life vest, you're going to be able to do something. I shouldn't have to run in. And if it's a serious tide, that's a different situation. So if it's a safety issue, if somebody is being abused, that's different. We got to call 911. We got to get the EEO's claims going. We got a lot of stuff to do. But if it's something that is workable for them, we got to think that they can figure it out. And when they do, woohoo, you did that. And that's called efficacy. We cannot get self-efficacy without wins. Every win increases the probability that we will be able to win again. And so the truth is if you won with your scenario and I didn't win, I've still lost, right? So let me say that another way. If you give me the answer to the equation, I still don't know how to solve it. I'm still trying to figure out what 1 + 1 is because you told me it was 2, but I didn't work it out. I didn't figure that out. You told me. And so the goal of this is to have people create their own answers, recognize sometimes they're wrong, and move through this change process to get them to a new direction. Right? So we want them to explore the possibility of maybe making a change. And so the difference in possibility of maybe is you're not forcing them. I need you to change tomorrow. Yes, that is still what we need. Okay. I need that behavior to change tomorrow. But the methodology and the way that you do it increases the probability that it's going to change because it isn't forceful. When there is force, people resist. Power versus force. Forcing me, I resist. Let me do this darn thing. Okay. You're being patient with me. Let me really fully consider, why is she being so nice? What is it that I'm doing? Is my behavior harming people? Because she is really trying to help me. And so it becomes a different process for me as the client, right? So, you know, what we're trying to do is to guide the behavior and minimize resistance. And you do that. And I actually have another workbook I'm gonna send this. All right. So let's think about this. And I'm gonna write it here. See if I can I escape and write? Nope, I can't. All right. So we're just gonna talk out loud here and I'm gonna write it down. All right. So if you think about times when something has worked for you, like say there was some behavior that you wanted to change and somebody was a change agent, what did they do for you that worked? What was that? Right? So there's some behavior that you needed to change and they, you know, what did they do? No right or wrong answers. I'm just writing them down and I'll tell you in a minute what they are. What worked? Mm-hmm.
It demonstrated belief in me.
Okay. All right. Belief in you demonstrated. Okay. What else? What else worked? Okay. Let me.
Trust. I trusted that person.
Okay. You had trust. Okay. Excellent.
I'll just tell you mine. I want to lose weight. You know, I'm heavy. I'm really heavy. So I asked someone that I trust, why can't I lose this weight? I just can't get this weight off. And this person said to me, well, why don't you just do it? This is totally under your control.
Okay.
Why don't you just do it? And it was the best advice I ever got. I am now losing weight like crazy, but it was like, you can do this. It's up to you. And it was just telling me the truth, not feeling sorry for me or, oh, you poor thing. I know it's horrible being fat. No, it was great.
Yeah. So let me dig a little bit deeper.
It was the best thing that's ever happened.
So this person though, who was that person to you? The person who told you that. Did you know them? They were somebody off the street?
It was, yeah, I knew him. No,
right.
Somebody I knew.
Right. It was somebody you knew and somebody you had a relationship with, right?
But, you know, I didn't know him that well. Right. And actually, it was someone that is a professional. So I went to a professional.
Okay, good. And so the reason why I'm asking is because you had to wait for a long time.
Oh, right? Many years.
Correct. And so I would venture to guess that that wasn't the first person who said that. And so you were.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay.
Everybody else is like, well, you're getting older, or, you know, I know you're under a lot of stress, or, I mean, everybody I would gripe about it to would want to be my friend and tell me all these reasons why. So they didn't want me to feel bad. They didn't want to feel they didn't want me to feel negative, and they'd say, "You're not that fat, you know, you're not really that, you're just, you know, you're just strong."
Okay, excellent.
And
Got
this
it.
was the first time someone had just said, "You really can do this. You don't need me. You don't need anybody. You just need yourself." And it was really eye-opening to me. I can't tell you how much it's changed my life.
Okay, excellent. All
Anyway.
right, and so Lynn, we have gave you the information, not dictated, okay? What else has helped? What else has helped people when, you know, there was something, you know, what have you seen work? What works when you want to help people change? So far, we have believe in you, trust, give me the information. You can do this, told the truth. You know, not dictating. What else has helped?
No, I don't know the correct terminology, but people who have stuck by you, if you've had to restart that process a couple different times.
Okay, okay.
So the safety to try, fail, and then get up and try again.
Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So you knew that you had a partner in this thing, and it wasn't just one and done. So when you fell down and you went into relapse, they were still there. Believing.
Yes, and I think the other side of that coin was that their own behavior made it clear that they were going to continue to live in the present and the future, as opposed to being stopped in the bog that you were in. So they were empathetic. They were there if you failed, but kind of like Kathy was saying, and you know, maybe in a nonverbal way, you know, you're going to do this. In the meantime, I'm right here doing my thing. Because I think sometimes, you know, if there are too many people in the inner tube, you're all going to go under, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, great stuff. And so this one is good as well. Stories and metaphors, behaviors and empathy. Excellent. So they stuck by you. Okay. All right. So what doesn't work? So can you think about a time that somebody you were trying to change something and someone, you know, what did they do, say, what did you feel that just did not work? Yes, judgmental, absolutely. Yes. All right. What else? What else?
This might fall under judgmental because that covers a wide range. I was thinking them being preachy, you know, I guess
Yeah.
I know it all.
Know it all. That is mine right there. Know it all. You have never seen my story. So how you gonna know my stuff? Okay, sorry. That's my trigger. Okay, go ahead. Know it all. I put that. Okay. What else? What else doesn't work for you? Okay. Prematurely prescriptive. Oh yeah. They jumped in too quick with they saw the whole thing, Michael. I like that. Okay. Nice. Assumptions. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Blaming doesn't work for me. Blaming.
Yes. Blaming. Okay. Anything else? What else doesn't work for you? Let's just put it out there.
Lying.
Okay. Lying.
Just chatter, negative chatter.
Okay. Yeah. Negative chatter. What? Anything else? Telling you like it's not hard. Exactly. Like really? It's not hard. All right. Oh, it's simple. It's easy. Yeah. So yes. Trivializing. That was a good one. Trivializing. I like that. And minimizing, right? Minimizing the situation. Okay. All right. So let's go over this one more time. So what we're saying does not work is being judgmental, preachy, know-it-all, premature prescriptive, assumptions, blaming, lying, negative chatter, saying it's not that hard, it's easy, trivializing and minimizing. And so what I want us to know about that side of the equation, that kind of what's on the right side with the what doesn't work, is that's what we tend to do to people naturally. It takes no gift and no skill to be on this right side of this equation. Right? It takes nothing to show up judgmental and to show up preachy and to know it all. No skill. And so that my learning that has shifted my understanding of the importance of a true coach and leader, because anybody can be on that side of the equation. Like you can just wake up and do that. Now, to get to what works takes a skill set. It takes patience. It takes training. It takes relearning. It takes more training. It takes self-management. It takes everything you have to really figure out what works. And so demonstrating belief in the person, trust, gaining trust, giving them the info, telling them the truth, not dictating, sticking by them, giving them the safety to fail, using stories and metaphors, having behaviors, and being empathic. These are skills, all right? You understand? These are skills. These are skills we have to build. It's like going to the gym. You got to keep building this skill set. What doesn't work is not a skill. Saying stop it, like Bob Newhart, that's not a skill. Anybody can do that. You're like, that's not a coach. That is just a person who doesn't have a skill set. And when you really think about having a skill set and a toolkit, it is important to recognize that whole statement that people said, if you only have a hammer and a nail, everything looks like a nail. If you only got a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? But we don't have just a hammer. We have a lot of tools in our toolkit. And it's important that we start to recognize that at any given point, we can use all of those skills. It takes no skills to be judgmental. It's easy. And it is also so easy that it can be default. It's just like the absence of is judgment. And I'm saying the absence of critical thinking, the absence of leadership skills, the absence of everything is the judgmental, the preachy, all of that stuff. Because I can get on my soapbox any day of the week, and that you don't even have to be brilliant to do that. I mean, do you know how many talk show hosts are just on TV or on the radio, just blabbering, not even truths? That's so easy to do. But what we want is thoughtful, mechanical, methodological things that will help people really figure out possibilities. And that's a different place. It's a different energy. It takes some time. So when we're practicing, it is like, yeah, I might get it slightly right the first time, and I might start to get better over time, but it is going to take us some time to do it. And the natural default is quick. You say X, I say Y, because natural conversations are really, I'm not really listening to you. I'm listening for what you're going to say, and I'm thinking in my head, what am I going to say next? Because I got to come back quick. But in coaching and really being there for the client, it's not even about me. So it's not even what I say, it's really listening so I can come back with something to them, not something that's going to make me look good. So this is a different process than that is natural. And so I want you to really start to observe how other people behave and what you start to notice. It takes no skills to be quick, doesn't it? Doesn't take any skills to knock somebody down. Doesn't make any skills to be demeaning. Doesn't make any skills to blame or make assumptions. That doesn't take anything. But the other side of the equation, which is where we are as coaches, and we started thinking about, you know, where we want to be and where we're trying to help people grow. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it takes time. We got to inspire, we got to help them, we got to be there, we got to guide them, you know. And so if you think about all of that, you know, the role of supporting someone and guiding them and being there for them, that's what we're talking about, right? Y'all follow?
Yeah.
So, and just know in terms of speed, that's the difference in the speed, because one is just, again, it's very, very simple. We all know what doesn't work, right? And because it takes no skill to do it, and because it takes no thought to do it, when things happen, we suddenly go back to that natural state of no skills, no training, because it's like fight or flight. It's just survival mode. And so sometimes it can be common sense. And common sense isn't the sense we want. What we're working on as a coach is that rare sense, and really working towards how do we help people think differently and be differently. And that just takes a little bit of time. All right. So we're gonna do one more real play. Any questions? Let me see how much time we have. Yeah. Oh, shoot. We might have better real play again today. Did you guys want a real play? I think because we probably don't have, we probably won't today. We did one real play already. A real play is just, you know, when we kind of walk out there.
Yeah,
But,
we wouldn't have that long, but we got what, 22 minutes left?
yeah. Yeah. So we could do 5 and 5 if you want. Tell me what you think.
I don't think that'll be good because by the time we start going.
That's right. Okay. I agree. I agree. And so what we want, so we'll definitely get one in the next time. Another one in the next time, and every time we'll be able to grow more and more on the skills and the skill set. And so, you know, why we drift from what we know works. Why do you think we do that? Why do we tend to go back to the judgmental, the preachy, the blaming naturally? Why do you think human beings, I'm not saying you, I'm saying why do humans end up on that side of the equation?
I think they feel that it's safe for them. It's something, it's a safe spot for them. So they own that one. They own that thought process or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Automatic behavior is easy. Our culture, it's just that's their truth. And it's so natural because I find myself doing it all the time. And I'm like, well, goodness, girl, what are you doing? Get back over here. You know, stop trying to fix it. Worry about yourself. You know, it's that whole idea, and it's so quick. I think that's it for me, Kathy. It's the quickest, it's just easy. And I would like to say it's the most efficient because it's quick, but it's not efficient because after you give them that, they coming back. Okay. And so we are impatient with the pace of change. And so we just have to think about it the way we've been trained. My mom, thank God for her, made some choices early on in life. When I was 3 years old, my mother said that I came to her and asked her what color the sky was. And she said she gave me what she thought was the best answer. And then the next day, I came back to her and I told her that the information that she gave me wasn't accurate because today the clouds had changed. So based on what she said, it couldn't be true. And she said she looked at me and she said, "This 3-year-old child is calling me a liar." Like she is basically saying you lied. And she said she didn't know, whether to pop me or educate me. And she said she decided to educate me. And so back in those days, they used to have the Encyclopedia Britannica, people walking door to door. So she's called them up and she said, please, and my books are over here. Hold on. She called them up and said, please bring all the books you have. So she started me, and I still have my books. I'm a book lover. I still have my books. So she started me with all of these books, and then she bought the Encyclopedia for Junior, all of them. So anytime I asked her a question, she said she refused to answer it. She would say, "What did your book say?" Because she knew that the way that my brain operated, that I wasn't gonna, solve that. And so our training matters because sometimes our parents say, because I told you so. My mother never did that because she said that would never work for me. I was like, yeah, because you told me so is a great answer, but that doesn't help me to understand why, because I was a why child, which makes me by nature very difficult for the average person, but it worked and it works for the work that I do because that's what we're trying to help people really get to, the why. And so our training really does contribute to why we just go with what's natural. See, I've never done it. I've always wanted to ask why. When we are under time pressure, we just go with what we know. It's automatic, it's quick, it's impatient for the change, like you said, Michael. And then, we're required to do certain things. So, as the lady says in that video, anybody got time for that, right? Everybody don't have time for all of this stuff. Lady, I just need you to move on. Let's just do this. And that puts us on that side of really pushing, people and making these really quick, giving people quick answers. But what we know is it's opposite to our goal. And even though in those time pressures, we may have given them an answer, it's not going to hold them for long. They're going to come back or they're going to get back to that natural behavior. And if after too long they feel like you're pushing them, that's going to create resistance. And resistance is what we're trying to get away from. So, resistance produces confronting, scalding, nagging, interrupting, ordering, judging, pressuring, criticizing, scarring, shaming, taking authority, being difficult, all of those things really happen when people feel as if resistance is what is there. And so we get into what I like to call the resistance traps. And so the resistance traps have a lot to do with like, how do we get to resistance? And so one trap is the question answer. It's like, okay, you ask a question, I'm gonna have an answer. You ask a question, I'm gonna have an answer. So we're going a tit for a tat. But if we used open-ended questions and really probed on that, it would be a different place. The other trap is kind of taking sides. So you say something, I am completely on your side in this story. Two things I've learned about this. One, as a coach, when people say things about someone who isn't in the room, I tend to say, oh, for the sake of this conversation, I would like to be on the side of the person who isn't here. And so that brings a whole nother side. And I also like to use the concept of being, you know, the devil and the angel advocate, so that I can, you know, look at both sides of the equation all the time. And so if they believe their side is, you know, the side of good, I say, oh, great. Well, let me take the side of bad on this one. And so I can force them to think in both sides. And so again, these are how we fall into these traps if we're not, you know, aware of them. As an expert, I could and do, when I'm doing a seminar, I am sometimes paid to kind of be the sage on the stage. But in coaching, there is an expert trap that creates resistance with my client, because guess what? As much as I know, as much as I started using these little books, you know, I literally at 3, people couldn't even, some kids at 3, well, now they're so much more advanced, but I'm not the expert in your experience. And we have to recognize that for people. So we've got to be willing to put our degrees, our whatever experience away, so we can be fully present with them, as because that creates a trap. Because if I'm telling you in my expertise with this thing, this is how this is going to work out, that's going to create resistance. Because what we know for sure scientifically, do you know? And you might have seen this before. Have you ever been at a hospital and seen somebody with an oxygen tank with a cigarette? Have you ever seen that? We know for sure that that medical doctor has said, do not smoke. That was not sufficient for the person to stop smoking, okay? So the expert trap, I'm the expert, and if you do this, if you don't do this, you're gonna die. Okay, that's an option. So we have to recognize that we gotta come at scenarios differently, all right? Labeling trap, that whole trap, we're gonna label the situation, label the person, oh, you are this, you are that. That just creates more resistance. The blaming trap, you know, we're gonna blame, trap, you know, pouncing. Oh, I'm gonna get on you, trap, information overload. I'm gonna give you 5 million reasons why you gotta change your mind. None of them work, right? So, and Michael said this exactly. You must have read ahead, Michael. The premature action planning trap. And that is when you try to move the person to planning when they are just contemplating the possibility of change. And so that's a trap, because I'm thinking, you know, I meet Kathy today. Okay, Kathy, we can work out every day. You ready to go? She's not ready until she's ready. And then when she's ready, she's going to start working out. And so we've got to get her to that place of readiness. And her trigger in that situation was her friend or a colleague or professional saying, hey, here are the facts. And then the next one is that fix it trap. Let me fix this for you. So all of these are traps that we as coaches fall into because we're trying to help. We want to fix it. We want to fix you. And I believe if I am just a little bit more intellectual than you, then you've got to change your behavior, right? Seriously, intellect does not equal change. If it does, if it did, we would not have had January 6th, okay? So what changes behavior are the tools and techniques that we're talking about today, and that is skill, and that is empathy, that is rolling with resistance, developing a discrepancy, helping people to see what they're doing might not be working for them with no judgment, just, hey, you know, kind of pointing it out, right? No fixing. We are not fixing people today, tomorrow, or the day after. People are CRW, and CRW is what?
Creative.
Creative, resourceful,
resourceful, and whole.
All right. Absolutely. That's who they are. All right. So I want you to watch this video and just take notes. We're going to watch 2 videos. This is the first one. So watch this video, take notes, notice what you see, notice how this works.
So why don't you have a rinse, David? How are you feeling?
Okay.
Good. Here, take a look. See what you think. That feeling and the color's okay. You know, there is quite a lot of staining, so I'm just wondering about some concerns about smoking, possibly.
Gonna get that again.
Coffee, tea. Yeah, you've heard this before.
I do all the above, yeah.
So, you know, the smoking is going to be related not just to some of the other negative consequences, you know, physically. It affects dental caries, dental cavities.
Yeah.
Healing.
Yeah.
In your mouth.
Okay. Sure.
So.
I've heard it all. I just want to get my teeth fixed.
Yes, and I really want to be helpful. I really want to, you know, my commitment is to your oral health. So there are lots of medications out there, David, that actually take away a lot of the cravings. They make quitting so much easier.
I did the pill things. I did try it. So I did try it. I just did the pills and they didn't work. It was a waste and it caused more side effects.
No, but David, it's not a waste. Research shows that people take on average about 7 tries before they quit smoking. So think of it as you're one step closer to quitting.
Or 7 lectures along the road.
Well, I don't think I'm giving you a lecture. That's certainly not what I meant.
No, I just feel that way. I get very defensive about it when they bring, because I get it from my family doc, my cardiologist, everybody. I'm not a complete fool. I am for smoking.
Well, there's a reason that people are concerned.
Not easy to quit.
No, but as I said, these medications, so you've tried the medication, you've been willing once.
Yeah.
Then can I write you a prescription for the medication? Can we talk about how you could use it? Because this is something that's very important, not just for your overall physical health.
I guess I got to really want to. Things I've tried usually cause me more problems than they helped.
Oh no, the smoking's going to cause you more problems than anything else. I can promise you that, David. Okay. The side effects from the medications are nothing compared to what can happen from the smoking. Like that's the, I think, thing to really consider.
Okay, well, can I go now?
I'm okay, but you know,
I know, Doc, what you're trying to do, but I just don't want to get into that right now.
Okay, well, thanks for listening. And honestly, I am really worried about the smoking. So
okay, I appreciate your care.
I'm here to help. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So of course, my favorite. All of them are my favorites. That's why they're here. All right. So what did you notice in this clip? What was going on? What happened? How did he take it?
She was getting on his nerve and she was getting on my nerve too.
Why? Tell me why.
She was nagging. And, you know, I wrote down some notes. So this is what I said. She was nagging. He was over it. And he was like me. This is not what I came for. I came to get my teeth fixed. I did not come for a lecture.
Right.
And then she was really acting like a know-it-all, and she was not empathetic. And that's how I feel when I go to the doctor. I go for one thing. I didn't come here for all of the other stuff. And that's me on my soapbox for today.
That's right. But so this is the thing. This is what happens in coaching, though. We see a behavior and we are, let me help you. I got all this knowledge here. I'm going to come and save you. And it feels the same way. Other thoughts, other feelings. How else y'all feel? What else came up when you saw those clips?
I mean, he was closed off from her very first sentence. He wasn't open to hearing anything she had to say with her after her first comment. So
the first from hello, he was like, you know, what is your deal? Human beings have a built desire to solve their own problems. They really do. And so we also really want to help people. And that's called the writing reflex. It's not writing, right. We want to make it right. We want to help you out. We know you need us. I got to save you. And so we have to make sure that we stay away from the fix-it trap, right? Other thoughts, other reactions to that video?
What bothered me the most was she did not take any cues from his behavior or anything he was giving. So she just like kept ramming and didn't even change her approach by the reaction she was getting back from him. And she completely ignored all his body cues,
Right. Did he say that he almost died?
No, he said that he'd already tried it. And so something that I noticed is that I think, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong, there's a time and a place for everything. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't the actual place per se, maybe the place because he was in the office, but the timing wasn't right. So when he said, okay, I've already tried this before I hear from my family, maybe if she would have altered her approach a different way. But she was just so, excuse my language, hell bent on getting him. She was like, well, let me write you a prescription. Okay, I didn't come here to ask you to write me a prescription. I just want to get my teeth fixed. And then I think that he felt like she was holding him hostage because his last question was like, well, can I go now?
Right. Yeah, she was relentless. Lecturing, expert. Yes. Yeah, she made you want a cigarette. All right. I love it. Okay, so let's watch this clip. And then I know it's going to be time for us to go. But let's watch this one. Same idea. Let me know what you see.
Okay, David, so why don't you take a rinse and how are you feeling?
That's the same video, ain't it?
Good.
Would you like to check this out? What do you think?
Oh, that one's fixed really nice.
Yeah.
You got rid of that bad discoloration that was there.
Yeah. No,
I like that.
It went well. Good. Excellent. I did notice quite a lot of staining, actually. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about what might be related to that?
Well, the usual suspects. Smoking, wine, coffee.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Any thoughts on considering quitting smoking at this time?
Yeah, I thought about it. It's not my cup of tea. I hear it from everybody. And I've tried before, it didn't work. I get it all the time.
Okay. And it's like, here I am, one more person, the next doctor who's saying, you need to quit smoking, David. And I'm sorry, that's not how I mean to come across.
I know I'm not an idiot, and people know that smokers are, how can you smoke today? It's just not that easy to quit.
And if it was as easy as a doctor saying, or your partner saying,
who wouldn't be? You'd have to be a real fool not to do it if you was going to make it like that.
Yeah.
I just hear it every day.
Yeah. And what's been your past experience with smoking? Can you tell me a little bit about kind of how the role it plays in your life, how long you've smoked?
Yeah, I've smoked for 40 years, since I was 14. And quit a couple of times, off and on in the 20s, but, it's been consistent. And I can't see myself changing now, no matter what kind of talk I get or what they come up with.
It sounds like almost you've tried a lot of things that are out there, and it's not something
not going to work for me.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I know cold turkey is probably the only thing that's ever going to do it. Anybody that's done it, myself, in my group, it's been cold turkey, and then they fight it. But it's my choice, and I don't like lectures about it.
Yeah, and it really is your choice. You're absolutely right that nobody has the right to tell you what to do. Can I ask, if there was to be a situation where you decided I must quit, what would that situation be?
Hard to tell, because I've already had open heart surgery. That didn't do it. Prostate cancer, that didn't do it.
Right.
I don't know. I really don't know. I just don't really want it.
So this is something that you have to pretty much see yourself doing for...
Yeah, quite a while yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you being willing to even talk about it. And I get that right now, this is not something that you want to pursue. Would it be okay if I brought it up at our next visit? Because I know that you said you don't want to lecture, but on the other hand, I am concerned.
Okay, yeah, I could go for that. I'm always open to, to listen.
As long as I don't talk too much. Okay.
You give me options. I had my surgeon just go like, here, like, why do I even keep you as a patient? He's good though.
You were glad to keep him as a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and David, honestly, wherever you're at, we'll work with it.
Okay.
And so thanks for taking a couple of minutes and talking about smoking.
Thanks, Doc.
Okay, great.
All right, I know we got to go. Thoughts? What was the difference in the approach?
She asked for permission.
Yeah, she asked for permission. Much more what? I heard somebody else.
Empathy.
Empathy. Okay, what else?
Didn't force the issue.
Did not force the issue. What else?
She asked for his feedback. She asked him what he thought would work for him or why it hasn't worked. So she was, what's the word you said? Self-efficacy.
Yep, his wins. Yep, she was looking for his wins. Yep. She asked a lot of questions, right?
Yes. I would have let her talk to me today.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So she started off, she didn't say, look at you, this came from this, right? She asked, what could this possibly be from? Like, what do you think? How do we get here? Okay, what else did she do?
She repeated back what he said, like what we were told or taught is, what I hear you saying is this. And again, she asked for permission at the end if we could go ahead and discuss this the next time you come back.
Yeah, so she's rolling with this resistance, right? She's not forcing, she's rolling. She's like, okay, and tell me how long this has been going on. And so she's being curious, she's finding out information. She's really listening to this for him. She's not saying, and he is the one now who is doing what we call, he's starting that change talk, because he's saying to himself out loud, yeah, I know you think I'm crazy because I've been doing this long. And so it's not her saying he's crazy, it's him starting to say it because he's listening. He's listening to her. All right. Yes. You're gonna find another dentist on that first one. Okay. Rapport was developed, conversation, not a lecture, didn't nag, and they were great actors, terrific videos, right? So one is how to do motivational interviewing, and one was not how to. I'll let you figure out which one is which one. So I'm over my time. Thank you all very, very much. I would like to send 3 articles that I worked on. One is on the moral licensing, one is on leadership fragility, and I'm not sure what the third one I wrote, but I'll send those to you just to have you read about them. And then next week we'll pick up on this. And again, using this skill set is really where we need to be to start to work with our clients. So there's a few more skills I want us to do on this side. And then I'll bring in a little bit more DEI, but I got to make sure that we get the tool of coaching and then the topic of DEI. So it's kind of a both at the same time. Okay. Anything else you need? Anything you need from me? Oh, hi, sweetie. Who is that? I can't see him. How can you show? That's not fair. I need to see the baby. Where is the baby?
I'm sorry. She just finished her lesson and she's like, Mama, I need this, and Mama,
Okay.
I want to talk to you. And everything.
Okay, well, can you let her say hello?
Okay, you want to say hello?
I want to see her.
Dr. Sherry wants to say you hello. Come on.
Can I see? You have your video off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Okay, where is my video?
Okay.
Let me. Okay. Yeah. I have two, so since you said you want to see them, both are here.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Because they couldn't decide who wants to show up first.
Okay. No, so in my world, hi.
That's my younger one.
Hi there. Hi
That's
there.
my older one.
Hi there. Hi there. Hi there. I don't think there's anything more important than stopping and encouraging small people. So if I were in a boardroom doing a multi-million-dollar deal and I saw a child, I would stop because
Thank
they
you.
represent everything that we should be. And so we have to encourage them, honor them, and give them the space that they need to grow. So thank you for being here and allowing us to partner with your mom. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody, for your time. And I look forward to being with you next week. And so what are your names?
You want to say your name?
मेरा name Zaheen है.
Say English name.
My name is Zaheen.
Oh, Raheem, nice to meet you.
Zaheen.
Raheem.
Zaheen.
Okay.
Zaheen. That's my older sister.
Oh, that's your older sister?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Yes, yes, you'll be future coaches. Take care, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
My
What's your-
name's Ayman.
Hi, Anan. Thank you for coming. That was such a treat.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming today. Yes. And thank you for doing that. It's nothing to me more important than, just acknowledging the future, because that's, and everything that we do and how we respond matters to what they do in the future. And that's what I've learned, that stuff matters. Taking time matters. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'll see everybody next week. And if there's anything you need, let me know. I'm around.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.